It has come to my attention. This is usually not a good way for a conversation to begin, but it does make an important point about time. It requires our attention. If it's not on our radar, so to speak, there's a good chance we'll miss seeing opportunities and threats that are right in front of our face. Then it's usually too late. So this video is about attention. How can we find it? How can we focus it? And how can we use it to our advantage so that we're not always reacting to things, but responding? Hello, I'm Phil Dean, and welcome to this edition of It's About Time. Time can be a friend or a foe. Think of time as being like a big puppy needing to be trained. It takes time and attention, loving attention. And attention requires seeing and hearing. It's impossible to focus on something we can't see. Attention is getting harder and harder to come by these days. There are so many people and so many things competing for it. It's the basic business model for social media. This generation is being constantly bombarded by attention seekers. Now, we want choices and we want options, and we think more is better, but maybe not so much. At some point, more just clutters the mental landscape. What's the best way to make something disappear without removing it? Surround it with so many other things that it just blends in. Think Where's Waldo? He just blends into the background. If something is hard to see or requires too much of our effort, people will likely drop off or stop watching altogether. Unlimited choice in some ways is just as bad, if not worse, than no choice at all. Our ability to analyze is limited. Too many options create confusion and fear that we'll be making wrong choices, and this leads to analysis paralysis. We're always hearing about our decreasing attention spans. It's gone from hours to minutes and seems to be rapidly approaching nanoseconds. Not that long ago, we had time to evaluate and think about things, but technology has changed all of that. It's removed all the friction that used to slow us down. Now everything seems just a click away. Somehow, we need to find ways to limit our options and put some friction back in the process. We need to establish parameters, the things that are most important to us. If they don't meet them, they don't make the cut. Speed is not always the best. There's more to decision making than stop or go. Sometimes the signs say slow down. That doesn't mean give up, but that's what happens when we're overloaded. How many people do you know who've given up following the news because they don't know who or what to believe anymore? It's too much. I mentioned analysis paralysis a moment ago. We seem hardwired to avoid risk, which is a good strategy for survival of the species, but risk avoidance is not a good evolutionary strategy. Risk takers and innovators are rewarded at least some of the time. Self-help author Mel Robbins came up with something she calls the 5-second rule. The idea is if you think of something for more than 5 seconds, you're very likely going to talk yourself out of doing it and miss opportunities. Fear of missing out is the flip side of analysis paralysis. There is some benefit to speeding up the process, but it usually should take longer than 5 seconds. That is, unless you're just trying to pick out what color socks to wear tomorrow. We have to give ourselves the gift of attention. We need a process in place that helps us focus our attention on making the best possible decisions in the amount of time we have. Not too long, not too short, just right. People have come up with all kinds of decision-making process. They're kind of like diets. They all sort of work in the short term, but what we want is something that works long term. We need to find what works for us. Life is largely determined by the decisions we make. The process doesn't have to be long and complicated. Here's an example of a simple process you can use. First, Identify the specific problem or opportunity. What is really going on? Second, do your research. Talk to people. Seek options and advice. Third, consider simpler alternatives. Don't overcomplicate. Fourth, weigh the cost versus the benefit. Fifth, make a decision. Sixth, take action. Seventh, review and adjust as needed. If that works for you, feel free to use it or come up with something better. Your process just needs to fill the gap between right now and never. If this has been helpful and you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe. Give it a like. Thank you for your time and your attention. And as always, remember, time is our most valuable asset. I'm Phil Dean. See you next time on It's About Time.